In 2023, a horrifying massacre struck what seemed to be a perfect American family. At around 6 p.m. on January 24th, the police and hospital received a frantic phone call from a man reporting that his wife had been gravely injured and was barely clinging to life, her condition critical and dire. But as the police and ambulance rushed to the scene, they were confronted with an unimaginable horror. In her dying breaths, the young wife revealed a shocking truth. She had murdered her 3 beloved children. What could possibly drive a mother to commit such a heartless act against her own flesh and blood? We are about to delve into the details of this chilling case. If you are truly curious about the truth behind this gruesome crime, comment with the number 1, and if not, just like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to Vane True Crime Cases for more spine-chilling stories. Patrick Clancy, the man who reported the incident to the police, could scarcely believe the nightmare unfolding before him. After struggling to perform emergency first aid to keep his wife, Lindsay Musgrove, alive before the ambulance arrived, and hearing her agonizing words, Patrick was plunged into a state of panic and horror. "What have you done?" he asked, his voice trembling with fear. Lindsay, with a vacant expression, replied that she had attempted suicide by jumping out of a window. Terrified for the safety of their children, Patrick's anxiety surged as he asked again, "Where are the kids?" Lindsay coldly responded, "In the basement." Unable to bear the mounting tension and fear, Patrick raced down to the basement, hoping that their 3 young children, Cora, Dawson, and Callan, were still safe. But tragically, what Patrick found was the exact opposite of his hope. In a moment of sheer terror, Patrick discovered his children unresponsive. Cora lay motionless in her bedroom, Dawson in his crib, and Callan on the floor of the room, all showing no signs of life. Patrick frantically tried to wake them. There was no response. He screamed in anguish, his heart shattering as he faced the unimaginable truth. His beloved children were gone forever. When the emergency responders arrived at the scene, the air was thick with panic as they fought to save Cora, Dawson, and Callan. Despite their best efforts, it was too late for Cora and Dawson. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. Callan, the youngest, was found with faint signs of life and a weak pulse, and was swiftly rushed to the hospital. However, despite the doctor's best efforts, Callan could not survive and passed away in the early hours of the following morning. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation. The police quickly took Patrick's statement regarding the incident. Patrick described the events as follows. That afternoon, Patrick was working from home in the basement. Around 4 p.m., after Lindsay and the children came inside from playing in the snow, she began searching Google for kids' Miralax. She also used Apple Maps to calculate the time required to drive to the 3V restaurant near Kingston. Lindsay checked the CVS website, called the CVS in Kingston, and asked if they had children's Miralax in stock. She then texted Patrick, who was in the basement office, saying, "Can you pick up food from 3V? I didn't cook anything. Kids and I have been having fun all day." Although 3V was not close to their home, they had previously ordered from closer restaurant. Patrick informed Lindsay that he agreed to check the menu and select what he wanted to eat. He chose scallops and braised pork risotto, while Lindsay opted for Mediterranean rice. At 5:10 p.m., Lindsay called 3V to place the order and mentioned that Patrick would be picking it up. 5:15 p.m., Patrick left the house, and Lindsay sent him a text message reminding him to pick up the children's medicine at CVS. However, after arriving at CVS to buy the medicine, he received no response when he tried to inquire about the specific brand Lindsay needed. A short while later, at 5:34 p.m., Lindsay finally returned Patrick's call, and their conversation lasted 14 minutes. Although the conversation seemed normal, Patrick later mentioned that he sensed Lindsay was preoccupied with something during their talk. When Patrick returned home at 6 p.m., after stopping to pick up dinner and medicine at CVS, he noticed an eerie silence enveloping the house. The home, usually bustling with activity, was now unsettlingly quiet, and the absence of the familiar sounds of his 3 children and wife Lindsay made him uneasy. Panic began to grip Patrick as he searched for any sign of life in his home. Lindsay and their children, Cora, Dawson, and Callan, were nowhere to be found. His heart raced with anxiety as he called Lindsay's cell phone at 6:09 p.m., desperately hoping to hear her voice on the other end. However, despite repeated attempts, Lindsay's phone went unanswered. With growing anxiety, Patrick headed upstairs to the master bedroom. The silence was terrifying, each of his footsteps echoing through the empty house. As he approached the door, he noticed it was locked, which only heightened his worry, as Lindsay had never locked herself in the bedroom before. Patrick tried the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. He applied more force. The stubborn lock refused to yield. Desperate to find his wife, Patrick pounded on the door, hoping for a response. But all he received was the oppressive silence. Facing the helplessness of his situation, but with unwavering determination, Patrick continued to struggle, attempting to force open the locked bedroom door. After what felt like an eternity, he finally managed to get it open, and a horrifying scene greeted him, sending Patrick into a state of sheer terror. Blood stained the floor and the windowsill, and a blood-soaked knife lay ominously on the nightstand next to Lindsay's bed. The sight made Patrick shudder as he immediately realized something unspeakable had occurred in the room. Patrick moved towards the blood-splattered windowsill, looked outside, and saw his wife, Lindsay, lying motionless on the ground in the backyard. By now, his heart pounded with fear as Patrick frantically dialed 911 while rushing down the stairs and outside to where Lindsay lay. Patrick found Lindsay sprawled in the backyard, body covered in blood. As they tried to save Lindsay, the police delved deeper into her background and learned that Lindsay Clancy, before is Lindsay Musgrove, 32-year-old, was a kind and caring individual who graduated with a degree in biology from Quinnipiac University in 2012. 2 years later, she obtained her nursing license and attended the Massachusetts General Hospital Medical Institute. Lindsay dedicated her life to helping others as a labor and delivery nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital. She quickly established herself as an exemplary caregiver, and her colleagues enjoyed working with her, praising her attention to detail and compassion. According to her colleagues, Lindsay's patients often requested her as their preferred nurse for future deliveries. Lindsay had an incredible ability to soothe anxious mothers and guide them through labor. In 2016, Lindsay married Patrick Clancy, a computer software engineer. Just a year after their marriage, Lindsay and Patrick welcomed their daughter Cora. Patrick described Cora as a loving and caring older sister with dreams of becoming a doctor and a mother in the future. Their second child, Dawson, born in 2019, was an intelligent and charming boy. His laughter and infectious smile lit up every room he entered. In 2022, Lindsay gave birth to Callan. Callan was a cheerful and easygoing child. His parents often called him Callan the Cheerful. Lindsay, Patrick, and their children lived in a beautiful house in Duxbury, Massachusetts. To friends and family, Lindsay and Patrick had a marriage many considered perfect. This couple has no conflicts or arguments. Their love is always as passionate as when they first fell in love. They were the epitome of a loving couple, radiating happiness and contentment. Patrick was a devoted father who adored Cora, Dawson, and Callan. Nothing was more important to Lindsay than her children. She loved being a mother and believed that raising children was the most rewarding and fulfilling thing one could do in life. Pictures of her children adorned the walls of her home, and she frequently shared images of them on social media. She often posted messages of gratitude and joy, such as, "I feel like the luckiest mom in the world, and I'm so grateful for this family and life." Those who knew Lindsay testified to her dedication as a mother, saying that she would leave parties early to get home to her children. She truly hated hearing their cries, even if it meant having to train them to sleep. Lindsay's devotion to her children was evident in every gesture. as she tenderly cared for and cherished them. However, after the births of Cora and Dawson, Lindsay's emotional state became overwhelming. The burden of motherhood had become a significant challenge for her, and Lindsay struggled to cope with the complexities of parenting. Despite this, Lindsay proclaimed on Facebook that her experience with Kaylin was going more smoothly as she focused on exercise, nutrition, and rest. Lindsay took proactive steps to address her emotional health issues. However, over time, Lindsay began to feel anxious about returning to work after her maternity leave. Pressure of full-time motherhood and balancing a career became too much for her. Lindsay sought healing through various forms of therapy, including visiting multiple healthcare facilities and being prescribed various medications. By September 2022, Lindsay's levels of stress and depression had reached a peak. Seeking relief, she decided to seek additional help. She went to the Women and Infants Behavioral Health Center in Providence for an assessment. Contrary to what Lindsay needed, she was not diagnosed with postpartum depression during this visit. Anxious and frightened, Lindsay decided to seek help and was admitted to McLean Hospital for mental health treatment. According to the arrangements, Lindsay would spend the next 5 days in the hospital to receive the necessary care. When Lindsay was discharged from McLean Hospital, the doctors determined that this young woman did not pose a danger to herself or others. However, no one knew the true extent of the crises she was going through. Throughout January, Lindsay seemed to be improving. Her family went on several outings to museums and restaurants. Lindsay herself expressed that she no longer intended to harm herself. Even her mother noticed a change in her text messages, as her tone seemed more optimistic. Yet, no one knew that Lindsay was battling her own demons beneath the surface. On January 23, 2023, the day began normally for Patrick and Lindsay's family. As the morning went by, Lindsay took the children to the doctor for a checkup. Her daughter, Cora, had a scheduled routine visit with the pediatrician. When they returned home, Lindsay spent valuable time with her children, all enjoying an afternoon of playing in the snow. Seizing the opportunity to capture these moments, she took a few photos and shared them with her husband Patrick and her mother. This happy scene made it unimaginable that Lindsay herself could end the lives of her beautiful children. After Patrick left the house to go to 3V for food and to CVS for medicine, Lindsay used her hands to strangle her 3 children to send them to heaven, and then used a knife to attempt suicide. Fortunately, Patrick returned home and discovered the situation in time. With the swift efforts of the emergency response team, Lindsay's life was saved. Lindsay Musgrove, a woman who had devoted her life to helping others, was now charged with murdering her own children. Lindsay Clancy remains hospitalized and in police custody. She is facing 2 counts of murder and 3 counts each of strangulation and assault and battery with a deadly weapon. She's expected to face upgraded charges following Callan Clancy's death. After the incident, Lindsay had to appear in court while being treated at the hospital. However, her lawyer argued that his client, Lindsay Clancy, was under the influence of multiple drugs at the same time for a long time. This had a huge impact on her mental health. Many people expressed their heartache at the fact that Lindsay had the heart to kill her beautiful children. Many people also sympathized with her. One person shared the following: "I think she was done a disservice by the medical community. Too many med changes maybe, and mental illness going on. That being said, she could have walked away and gone to stay with family if she was feeling the way she felt. Leave the situation if you are unstable. I've not had these feelings myself, but felt pushed to the edge. The need to not be transparent to outsiders when feeling off is our culture. People are not allowed to feel like this and get help that works. There's little support out there." And her husband was working on very little knowledge of mental illness. He was as feeling she was doing better. But we all know things in the mind ebb and flow. We want to believe our loved ones are doing better and things are going well. It's hard on us to manage a mentally ill loved one as well. So when things look better, we are better too, and trusting of the mentally ill person. I have complete sympathy for the whole family. Should she be punished? Yes. What that would look like, I don't know. It should contain serious mental help, as she will no doubt be suicidal again when she has to live with what she did. Terrible tragedy. The case of Lindsay Musgrove is a heartbreaking and complex tragedy that reveals the dark and profound aspects of human life that are often hidden from view. Lindsay Musgrove, a dedicated and loving mother, fell into a severe psychological crisis that led to an unimaginable act of violence, murdering her own children and attempting suicide. The stark contrast between her caring motherly image and the grim reality of her actions highlights the urgent need to understand and effectively manage mental health, especially during periods of intense stress and difficulty. This case raises serious questions about the support that individuals facing psychological crises need. Although Lindsay sought help and treatment from various sources, it seems that the intervention may have been either untimely or insufficient to prevent her mental breakdown. This underscores the importance of early detection and effective treatment of mental health disorders, as well as increasing awareness and support for those enduring significant psychological pressure. From this case, we learn the crucial lesson of paying close attention not only to our own mental health, but also to that of those around us. Signs of psychological distress are not always obvious, and creating a supportive environment where people feel safe to share and seek help is vital. Always listen, care, and support those who are struggling. If you found the information in this video useful and want to learn more about other true crime cases, please like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. Don't forget to follow the Vane True Crime Cases channel to stay updated with more engaging and valuable content. We look forward to your feedback and interaction as we strive to provide the most comprehensive and informative content possible.